Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Touche Pod. I'm your host, Shay. As such, I must warn you, prepare for some cringy and dramatic stories that will most likely make you question humanity. When we're hit with a story that leaves us speechless, we'll say, Touche Reddit, you've done it again. As always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Touche Pod. I'm so sorry, it's been a while since I've posted an episode. The holiday season was very busy and very fun at the same time. However, unfortunately, my little baby Harley, he did go through some troubles with his health. Thankfully, he is back on the right track and he's doing much, much better. But if you'd like to read his story, you can check out the link in my Linktree bio, and you can read his story on the GoFundMe page posted there. Anyways, let's get back on topic to today's episode. What stories do we have for us? We have a theme of relationships, narcissistic groomzillas, inconsiderate partners, and cheating for no reason. Very juicy.
That was a juicy one!
And of course, I'll be throwing in some more lighthearted stories at the end of the episode. So without further ado, let's get into it. Our first story comes from r/wedding shaming. Red flags of a narcissistic groomzilla. 3 years ago, my 35 female sister, 29 female, got married. It only lasted 4 months as her ex-husband, 29 male, was a narcissistic groomzilla from hell.
Oh, snap.
A little backstory to set the stage. My sister lived overseas for 18 months doing a church mission trip. While there, she met her ex-husband. Let's call him A-hole. A-hole was obsessed with my sister, following her around and love bombing her. She was not interested, a fact that she told him several times. When they both returned to the States, A-hole decided to leave his college and move across the country to the school my sister was attending, in the same dorm block. OP says that's red flag number 1.
That right there, that's a red flag.
I agree. He constantly asked her out and she constantly said no. Finally, after months of rejecting him, she caved and went on a date. After that first date, A-hole completely ghosted her for 6 months. Red flag number 2.
I am more nervous than a salmon in a bear hug.
My sister had never had a boyfriend and was extremely introverted growing up. So of course she started obsessing over him and why he disappeared after one date. She went through a period of depression before finally starting to feel better. That was when A-hole suddenly popped back up, saying, "Let's just be friends." So many red flags.
Now see your red flags.
I told her he was manipulating her into feeling like she needed him, but she didn't listen. Within a month, A-hole proposed, and she said yes. My sister did not want a huge wedding. She hated crowds and being the center of attention. She wanted only immediate family at an intimate ceremony and maybe a dinner to follow. This was when she found out that A-hole was a groomzilla. He told her that he had been planning his wedding since he was a little boy. Red flag number 3.
I don't like this.
And wanted a huge ceremony. His mom pulled out his wedding binder and began planning the wedding that my sister didn't want. Anytime my sister told them to back off all of the over-the-top planning, A-hole would cry and want to have days-long conversations about his feelings. She finally just gave in to let him have his dream wedding. The week leading up to the wedding, we were all staying in the city where they were attending school, both ours and his immediate families. After almost every planned event, A-hole would cry and throw a temper tantrum if it didn't go as planned, and my sister questioned her decision up until the day of the wedding. He wanted a cake, she hates cake, so they had cake. She wanted a beach wedding, he wanted a rustic wedding, so they got married in the mountains. She wanted her favorite flowers, his mom canceled them and got his favorite flowers. She wanted a less traditional song to walk down the aisle to. He changed the music last minute to the song from Twilight.
Heart beats fast.
Basic as F. She wanted the first dance. His mom cut in and made sure she had the first dance instead. What was worse is that he made my parents pay for his wedding. Long story short, they got married, and 4 months later, he disappears, and he has his mom serve her with divorce papers. Apparently, he finally decided to come out and had a secret boyfriend that he left her for. What? That last bit threw me for a loop. There's edits to this post, but I gotta talk about this first. All of this deserves a touche. This deserves a touche. And I have a new animatic for getting the touche shock factor. Here it is. Hooray. But I'll start with the last bit of that story because that was what got the shock factor for me, was that he apparently had a secret boyfriend, left his newlywed bride to go be with him, and didn't say anything. He never said anything personally to her. Wild.
That's crazy.
I definitely feel bad for this sister. I hate that she had to go through this because nobody deserves to be treated like that. And clearly, she was used as a doormat for this guy. He walked all over her and stomped his way out as well. And the mom was right behind, cheering him on because he was doing such a good job being her little golden boy. Ugh. Disgusting. I mean, you can see where this guy learned to act this way was because of his mother. His mother is an enabler and let him have whatever he wanted, and clearly let him live his whole life up to this point doing whatever he wanted and not understanding the consequences, which I'm sure anytime that he messed up, she bailed him out. I can guarantee you that.
Guaranteed.
And to touch on this guy's narcissistic tendencies, huge red flags, as OP was saying. I mean, there are more within the story than just the ones that she specifically highlighted. I mean, for me, it started from being obsessed with her, being obsessed with a sister like that from the jump. That should have been red flag behavior. But of course, this poor sister never had a boyfriend or anything like that. So she didn't know better. I mean, if anything, like as a girl, I would love attention like that if I hadn't been looked at like that before. And so she really fell for his charm there. Then he ghosted her for 6 months.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
I would have, if I was the sister, I would have just immediately let him go. Be like, all right, I got a little bit of fun there, a little bit of attention, obsession, whatever. Clearly, he's not meant for me. But no, she unfortunately kept going along with him. Then she pulled the same thing that this guy did, which was to start obsessing over him. That's unhealthy and unfortunate that she felt like she needed to do that. And it just gets worse and worse and worse.
It only gets worse.
I mean, Opie said that the sister was already thinking about bailing from the wedding and getting married to him during the wedding planning. I mean, if I was the sister, my gut was screaming at me, something's not right. I would have just...
I gotta get out of here!
But she didn't, and it's so unfortunate. But hopefully it's a very, 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 very hard lesson learned for this sister. And maybe even for her family. Her family maybe could have been more assertive with how they felt about this guy. OP could have been more assertive.
Assertiveness lesson number 1.
Definitely the family should have helped out here, because if you're going to listen to anybody, it's the friends and family around you who care about you and your well-being outside of your future spouse, right? But we will get into the edits. There's a couple. So the first edit that OP made was, she said he made her drop out of school and get a job because his career path was more important. So he needed to solely focus on that and not work.
Wait, that don't make no kind of sense.
Oh, so he's also controlling her life, her work life, her social life, her family life. Yeah, that's narcissist tendency number 1. Well, technically, this would have been like number 5 out of all of this, but you know, this is just an easy one to pick out. A very clear narcissistic tendency from this guy to slowly pull her away from everything she cares about, everything that she wants for her life, her family, her friends, and it's just not a good thing to see happening here.
This is the worst.
Edit number 2, his mom told her she was going to move in with them for the first year to, quote, help her out. Thankfully, she put her foot down to that crazy mother-in-law. Yeah, This reminds me of an episode of, what is it? It's a show where Mama's Boy, I think is what it's called. I watched like one episode and I had enough because the fact that guys like this exist out there where they're just so unhealthily attached to their mothers to the point where they insert their mother into their married life like this baffles me.
It doesn't even make any sense!
And it sucks because I can almost understand, like, these guys, they were taught to respect and love their mother and to maintain a relationship with them. But obviously, there's a balance to everything, and you can go from one extreme to the other. And they're going all the way over here to basically their mother being involved in everything in their lives. And the mothers, of course, don't know any better because they're like, oh, it's my child, it's my son. And it's like, no, they're an adult. They need to be able to have their own relationships, live their own lives, make their own decisions without your constant integration into that. That's so unhealthy.
Whoa, that is so fucked up.
One more edit here from OP, edit number 3. OP says, we were not spineless or enabling. Narcissistic people tend to mentally beat their victims down, which is what happened here. She is the baby of the family and the only child of my stepmom, so they were going to make sure my sister had whatever she wanted. My sister didn't tell us all the details of the planning until after it all went down, so we didn't know how bad it actually was.
Why did you do that?
We knew about most of the things that happened on the wedding week since we were all there for the man being a groomzilla and his mother acting like a crazy person. We saw the red flags, but not all of them because they were not shared with us. Okay, so we get a little bit more light shed on like the family's role in this, and I guess they just weren't close enough to see what was going on until the wedding. And that's the unfortunate thing too. You really don't see, for some families are closer, but the unfortunate thing is that with weddings and funerals, for example, maybe birthdays, that's when you really get all the family together and you see how they act around each other and what they're doing. So it sounds like this family just wasn't able to see her sister that often, which would make sense. If the guy here was pulling her away from the family, then yeah, they weren't being able to see much.
He's terrible, Your Honor. He's really terrible.
And that's hard. That sucks. And yeah, obviously, if the sister was playing along with the groom's charade of getting married and being in love and all this stuff, that's what the sister wanted, then from what it sounds like, the family was going to try to support her. So I get it. They just did not see the flags yet until this wedding week that OP described here. And my goodness, I mean, that's just a lot. And yeah, OP said it was 3 years ago. So I'm sure the sister has come to them and explained more about what was happening behind the scenes that they didn't see and how bad it really got. And that's just hard. All for him to come out as gay.
He's gay.
Hooray. I mean, great for exploring your sexuality, my dude, but you gotta respect the people around you when you do it. He left her, disappeared, cheated on her, had his mom deliver the divorce papers. Golly, what a coward. What a coward. Well, that's all I have for that story. The next one is from r/am I the asshole? Am I the asshole for not catering to my wife at a group hangout? I, 36 male, work at a school, so I get summers off, and most of my friends do as well. But my partner, 35 female, doesn't, and she also works Saturdays. Yesterday, I spent the day with my friends and then called my partner around 6:30 when I knew that she was going to be heading home from work. I asked her if she could pick me and my friend up from another friend's house, and she said no. So I asked her if she wanted to come hang out, and she said no. She was tired from work and just wanted to go home. I told her our friends would really like to see her and asked her again to come over, and she said yes. When she got there, we were playing a video game. It was a 4-player game, and she was the 5th person. Plus, she said she didn't really want to play, so we just kept playing while she did some stuff on her phone. About an hour after she got there, she started texting me while sitting right next to me on the couch. She wanted to know why I had asked her over there if I was just going to sit and play games and ignore her. She complained that she wasn't having fun and she should have just gone home. I told her sorry and asked what she wanted me to do, and she didn't respond. A little while later, we finished our game and decided to have some dinner. Once the game was over, everyone started chatting, and it seemed like she was having a good time. We hung out for about an hour, and then I was tired, so I told her I was ready to go. We got home, and I confronted her about her texts and her complaints. She said it was really inconsiderate for me to invite her over just to ignore her. So I reminded her that she didn't want to play and that was her choice. I told her that she doesn't understand that life isn't always fun and that sometimes she has to wait and do stuff she doesn't want to if she wants to have a good time with her friends.
What did he say?
She got pretty upset and told me that she knew life wasn't always fun and that she had just finished a 40-hour work week and was looking forward to spending some time together, which we did. I was tired of hearing her complain about the video games. I got angry that she didn't appreciate the time we spent together and that she was being so passive aggressive with the texting. Things got heated and I left to go clear my head. Now I'm wondering if I should have done anything differently when she showed up at our friend's house. Yeah, you should have done the whole thing differently from the jump. You should have not pressed your partner. He says partner. I'm going to stick with partner. You should not have pressed your partner and convinced her to come hang out when she was tired. The lack of inconsideration by this man has me fuming. And then after he explains everything, to complain to her about her behavior? Sounds a little hypocritical to me.
You're such a hypocrite.
Just the way that he goes about this, saying, I was tired of hearing her complain. I got angry that she didn't appreciate the time we spent together. There was no time that they spent together. She was having to sit next to him, not doing anything with him because he was playing video games. Okay. In some cases, like, you know, especially when partners live together, like doing your own things next to each other is fine. That is sometimes considered quality time, especially if you got your own things you want to do and that can be a quality moment. Sure. This was a different scenario because she was forced into a situation that she didn't want to be in from the get-go, and she voiced that. And then to have to sit there and not even be involved in the hanging out process, that's not quality time. That's not spending time with your partner or your partner's friends if you're sitting there doing nothing.
Not cool. Not fucking cool.
And for some people, sitting there doing nothing is fine, but she clearly voiced how she didn't want to be there, that was not what she wanted to do. And again, just the amount of complaining he does at the end here, saying that he was tired and angry and all this. Like, how do you think she feels? She was tired. After a 40-hour work week, she was tired, and she just wanted to spend time with her partner. And what does the partner do? Force her into a situation she doesn't want to be in, being around people after a long work week, just to sit there and play video games and not even enjoy the time together. No.
Oh, hell no!
And his whole thing about sometimes things in life don't go your way and you have to suck it up, buttercup. No. Okay, Dad. No. If she had a choice, but you didn't give her that choice. You took that away from her by convincing her over and over again to come and hang out with y'all. This isn't one of those situations where life doesn't go your way and you have to suck it up. This is not one of those situations. This is one of the situations where he should have been considerate of her and said, okay, I understand. Is it okay if I hang out with my friends for a little bit longer? Or, hey, I understand you've had a long work week. Like, do you want me to come home? Or am I okay hanging out? That's how he should have gone about it. But he didn't. He was being a total dickhead and not thinking about anyone but himself.
You done messed up, Aaron!
And again, the fact that he said, like, I tried to listen to her. Bro, you didn't try anything. And clearly, you just came to Reddit for validation. Very clearly. Because out of all of this spiel, at the very end, you give one sentence to say, now I'm wondering if I should have done anything differently. Just the phrasing of that shows that you don't think you're in the wrong at all. Because if you truly were thinking about if you were in the wrong, you would have said, now I'm thinking about it, and I might have been a little bit of a dickhead, so what could I have done differently? Instead of, should I have done anything differently? You said, okay, I know I messed up. What could I have done differently? Or how can I fix this? And he's not saying that at all. So clearly he came to Reddit for validation.
So he's an idiot.
Yeah.
So we have an update from this asshole of an OP. He says, my partner and I talked again, and I tried to listen without getting defensive. I just need to pause there for a second.
Let's just give me a second. Let me process that.
I tried to listen without getting defensive. Okay. I'm just going to let that sit for a second and I'll keep reading. I tried to listen without getting defensive, and I apologized to her for everything. I admit that I was an asshole. It's really hard for me to accept criticism.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Even when I know that I deserve it. And that's something I'm working on. I guess thanks for all the practice. No thanks for the Reddit cares reports. That was unnecessary. Thanks for all the practice? You know, I'm just now seeing this line and I'm trying to figure out what he meant by that. Like, practice for figuring out when you're being a butt face?
Boom. Roasted.
Practice for learning how to recognize when you've messed up? Maybe? It's just, again, the wording. Very weird. Yeah, no, that update, I'm not satisfied with that update. I mean, he says, yeah, I apologize, and I get I was an asshole, and I know it's hard for me to accept criticism, even when I know I deserve it. You sound like somebody I know. We won't get into that right now, but you sound like a narcissist. And I know that, I guess the theme of this episode is narcissists, not relationships. I don't like to throw that around lightly. Like, I don't like to just say, oh, you're a narcissist, you're a narcissist. I don't like to do that. I grew up with a narcissist, and so I know what it looks like. And this guy is giving some of those tendencies here, because at least the narcissism I saw was like, he would say he knew that it was hard for him to take criticism, but then he wouldn't do any actions or say the words to like show that he was actually working on it. He wasn't actually being accountable. And that's what I'm getting here from this guy, is that he doesn't know how to actually be accountable. He just got so much hate from the Reddit commenters to the point where they did a cares report on him. He just got so much hate that he's willing to say, all right, whatever. You guys don't even know me, so I can say that I apologize and that I'm going to work on it, and yet I'm not actually going to do anything about it. That's probably what he's thinking. And that upsets me for the partner. Not for him, for the partner. I hope the partner, because I'm sure this is not the first instance of this happening, I hope the partner starts seeing this and starts being like, okay, maybe I need to get out of this situation.
Dump his ass.
That's what I hope that this partner is doing for herself, because this is not a good situation. If he does this a lot, this is just the one time I'm assuming that he's come to Reddit about it. And again, he definitely came on here to receive validation. He didn't actually want to. Oh my God, what's happening? Is somebody here? Oh, I hear mom's car. Yeah, I hear mom's car. Anyway, sorry, just to wrap that up. I don't even know what I was talking about. We'll just move on to the next story. Let's just move on to the next story. This next story is from r/relationships. My boyfriend, male 26, of 2 years, cheated on me, female 22, with a guy for no apparent reason. My now ex cheated on me with a guy after 2 years of dating. We were at the point in our relationship where he had picked out a ring. Our relationship was, from an outside perspective, very stable and healthy. We had found the foundation of a strong friendship, and it was the longest and happiest relationship I had been in. One night after work, he came over and gave our typical kisses and hellos, and then went back to my room. As soon as I shut the door, he broke down crying and said, "I fucked up," over and over. At this point, I thought he beat someone up or committed some crime. Him cheating was the last thought on my mind. I asked him what had happened, and he said that he cheated on me. While the whole thing is a blur now, I remember just trying to understand what happened and why. I was very calm and sympathetic as he explained everything. According to what he told me, 2 nights before, after hanging out with some of his friends, he downloaded Grindr, made a profile, matched, had a short convo, and then drove a short distance to meet with the said guy.
What in the fuck knuckles is this?
They did some stuff. Obviously, can't go into detail here about what he did, but he told me the details. And then he went back to his place. This whole time, I was texting him and everything seemed normal. As for his reason, he didn't really know. I asked him if he had been wanting to explore/experiment, and he said no. I asked him if he had thoughts of being with a guy while with me. He said once or twice. However, he says he's not gay or bi.
You sure about that?
He says he only wants to be with women, specifically me. Here's the real kicker, though. The day after he cheated, he spent the entire day with me. I'd had a sinus infection, and he came over to take care of me and hang out for the whole day. He didn't mention a thing and didn't seem off in any way. We even did stuff together, which I later realized was the same stuff he and his grinder date did. To say the least, that really hurt, and it was clear he was trying to compare. With all of this, I decided I could no longer be with him. He made deliberate, sober decisions that destroyed my trust. I'm still not sure why he did what he did, but no matter what, it's clear he has some stuff to work through. I thought about staying with him while he did, but that would prove to be torturous for me. We discussed possibly being friends after some time, but during the couple of times that I've seen him since, I either wanted to cry or punch him, so I don't think that can work. He really messed up the life we had built together, and I've since just been trying to get through life day by day. I can't even think about trying to date again. It's been almost 5 months since the breakup, and I'm not sure I can trust anyone now. So I'll throw in a little touche shock factor here. I'm claiming this story. This is my story.
Ta-da!
This is my story from about 3 years ago now. As the story said, I was with a guy for 2 years and he had picked out a ring. We were, getting ready for that next chapter. I was so excited and so in love. And then he went and did this out of nowhere. He, as the story said, went and cheated on me. It was deliberate. He was sober. I had no idea. The entire time, I had no idea that he had any indication of, wanting to be with anyone else, let alone wanting to be with a guy or anything like that. Looking back, yeah, there might have been some red flags, just that he wasn't the person I should be with, but nothing to indicate that his sexuality might be shifting. And this was a rough time for me. He actually did this, I believe it was right before my birthday, but right after my grandpa died.
That's tough.
So it was just the cherry on top of a pile of shit during that year. The way that he did this, it was the only way that I would have dumped him and ended the relationship, because if it had been with another woman, I honestly was so wrapped up in our relationship that I might have tried to stick it through, but ultimately this was the only way that would have ended that relationship, because I was so in love. And it's funny now because, after this happened, I talked with him and we cried, and I actually went into my bathroom, cried, threw up, cried again, threw up again, cried again. It was really bad.
Jesus Christ.
And then we talked out what we could, and then I asked him to leave, and I actually ended up talking to my friends and family after that, and they were like, yeah, we kind of knew. And I'm like, what do you mean you knew? And they were like, well, we had suspicions. It's not like we knew, but they had suspicions that he might have been gay or at least swung that way. And I was like, and y'all didn't say anything?
Why?
But, even if they did, I remember my mom had said, oh, there's something off about him. I just don't know what. She was saying that very lightly to me without saying explicitly, oh, I think he's gay or whatever. And even then, I didn't listen. I was so wrapped up and so in love that I didn't listen to her. But apparently my cousin called it spot on. He met him for the first time, at my grandpa's funeral, and had said to, I guess, my brother or somebody else in my family, is he not gay?
Gay!
For a while, I had so much anger and resentment towards him. And for a while, I was mainly very sad. But, of course, I had some anger towards him. And the advice I would have given to myself 3 years ago is the advice that I got, thankfully, which was, no, you can't stay with him. You need to break it off. You need to work on yourself. You need to try to move on from this and process it and definitely get some therapy for it. And that's what I did. I tried to be friends with him because obviously with Harley, like Harley was a big part of our relationship. So I tried to at least let him see Harley. That ended up not working out. Like I said in the post, I just was, that anger came back. The sadness came back. I was like, I can't get over this while still seeing your face. So I ended up, breaking that. I ended up just completely cutting contact. I was like, there's nothing that can be salvaged from this. Yeah, I went to therapy and moved on. And while this was a really hard time, it led me to the man I'm with now. And it was worth it, I guess. If that's like a thing I can say, like it was worth it getting through all of that trauma.
Positive vibes, positive vibes.
I definitely learned some lessons about trust. I definitely learned some lessons about like red flags to look for. And anyone else who's in this situation, you will get through it. You will end up being okay. It is not easy to understand. It's not easy to process, but you will get through it with time. Time was, in fact, the biggest healer. I had always heard that saying, but I never quite believed it. But I did after this. I was like, time truly did help me be able to move on and process and get on with my life and start focusing on myself,
So time heals all wounds, I guess.
But I'll read some of the comments that I actually got from that post when I posted it, 3 years ago. One commenter said, "You dodged a bullet. He is gay, and it's better that you find out now than when you're married with kids." Very true. Do I think he's gay? I think he's clearly struggling with his sexuality. I questioned it at first. Obviously, like in the post, I said I questioned him. Even after, like in the times that we were still talking, I did question him and he still didn't have an answer. I think he's in denial.
Denial is a river in Egypt. Your husband is gay.
I think he's very much still in denial. I don't know if he's gotten help or not. I don't know what's happened with him since, but I think he was in denial at first that he wanted to explore and that he wanted to, not just be with women. He was attracted to men as well. He wasn't willing to admit that. So anyway, whether he's gay or not, that is his business. That's for him to figure out. What's important is that he cheated on me. That was the deal breaker there. And yeah, the commenter's right as well. Glad I found out at that moment right before I was about to say yes to him. Very glad that's the way that it played out. It was clearly some good timing with that. Another commenter said it doesn't matter what sexuality he is. He cheated on you. The gender of the person he cheated with is unimportant. I recommend therapy to get through this. Exactly.
Yes, sir.
He cheated on me. That was the break of trust. It didn't matter with who. It was just that he did it. And he did it deliberately. Yeah, I went to therapy. I went to a lot of therapy after this. Like I said, it was in a very critical point in my life where a lot of other stuff had happened. So after that, I was like, well, put me in a psych ward. It was like, I'm ready to get those grippy socks. I didn't actually, but maybe I should have, but I did end up going to therapy at least getting that help. And that did help me get through this. Another commenter said, the way he cheated would have fucked me up too. It wasn't a chance meeting or anything like that. So deliberate. I think he would have done it again and again. He's clearly impulsive and clearly not thinking straight. Not thinking straight. Anyway, very clearly, he was an impulsive person, and that's something I should have recognized pretty early on, was that he's impulsive. He was impulsive. As to if he would have done it again and again, I don't know. I mean, he dipped his toe in the water, so to speak, and that was a big way to do it. He created some major waves the way he did it because he was with me still and actively cheated on me and didn't tell me anything until 2 days later. But he might have, if he got away with it, if he was able to keep it down in him and not bring it up, he might have. So yeah, I did dodge a bullet there.
Maybe surviving a bullet. I don't think it's dodging one.
And yeah, it was very deliberate. He was completely sober. But yeah, so that's one of my stories. If y'all want to hear more, I'm down to read some more. I actually, I was a frequent poster on Reddit before I actually started doing this podcast. So if you guys want to hear some of that, I'd be down to share. My life is a soap opera. So I'd be glad to write some of my own, but I appreciate you guys listening to my story. I'm being vulnerable when I, tell this story. This is something that happened with real people in real life. So I don't take that lightly, but I appreciate that you guys are willing to listen to me talk about that because it's fun. It's fun, and it's fun for all of my friends and family who have heard me tell this story so many times.
Quite a few times.
All right, and finally we'll get to some more lighthearted stuff. This is from r/ask Reddit. What is something you did as a teen that makes you cringe really hard now? One commenter said, I made tons of people in high school take pictures with a plastic fork. Told them it was for a school project. It wasn't. I just thought it would be funny. Still have that laptop with an entire folder filled with random kids holding forks. Now that's brilliant. That's a brilliant meme.
Yeah, who's a genius?
Someone responded to that commenter saying, I hope you go to a class reunion and host a slideshow of them after this simple introduction. I bet people would die laughing seeing themselves, but it would also become a school project at that point. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to keep doing school projects when you're not in school anymore, but that's funny. That's not just about school. That's memories. I would personally frame, like, if like you go to a reunion, like print out the photos and frame them and like give them to people who you went to high school with. I mean, that would be so funny. We actually, speaking of forks, we did something similar when I was a senior in high school. Their senior prank was they put a bunch of forks in the lawn outside the front of the school. That was funny and very tedious to pick up after because they made us do it. They didn't make anybody else do it, which is reasonable. We also, they printed out, and I say they because I wasn't a part of this. I was a teacher's pet.
Loser.
The rest of the seniors, they also printed out pictures of teachers who either were let go or had transferred or whatever. They printed out pictures of those teachers and they, like mugshots, they made mugshots out of these teachers' pictures and they posted them around the school too. So that, that was a direct kick at the school. Yeah, senior year was not fun for them after that. I was left out, thank God. They kind of knew, like, oh, yeah, no, she's not going to cause any trouble. So we don't have to punish her. No, just kidding. They did. They did. They punished all of us as a group. And I was like, what the hell? I didn't do none of this.
I'm innocent.
So anyway. The next commenter says something embarrassing they did as a teenager. They loved the band Orgy so much in 7th grade, but didn't know what the word meant. I wrote the band name on everything. Bedroom furniture, school notebooks, everywhere. Oh, yeah, that's... that's too funny. In 7th grade, you didn't know what that word meant? Dang. Did you go to private school like me? Probably.
Would you like some aloe vera? You just got burned.
The next commenter said, at 13, I had a 16-year-old boyfriend. He was interested in moving much faster than I was, so I knew I needed to break it off, but was shy and awkward and an emo kid. So I changed my MSN profile picture to a screenshot from My Chemical Romance's I Don't Love You music video with the letters IDLY over the top of it and waited for him to ask about it. He did, and it worked. But boy, am I not proud of that one. I would be proud of that. That's genius.
That's amazing.
That is the most non-confrontational way to break up with somebody, is to change your profile picture to that music video with all of that. I mean, the fact that he caught on, though, is kind of surprising. I mean, 16-year-olds, they don't catch on to a lot, especially something like that, but he did. The last one is, at 13, I got my friend, who totally had a crush on my boyfriend, to go knock on his door and break up with him for me. She did it. I never had to see him again because we were going to different high schools after that summer. I still think about it 20 years later and think if I ever run into him, I'm so going to apologize for that. It haunts me. I'm sure maybe they dated after that. I mean, look, it's a win-win situation. Your friend had a crush on your boyfriend. You wanted to break up with your boyfriend. So now she can look better for delivering the news to your boyfriend. I'm just kidding. That's not advice. That is purely shenanigans.
Take it back.
But still a very funny story there. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Touche Pod. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, please be sure to like, subscribe, rate, and share the pod. You can find episodes on Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, YouTube, or just check out the link tree in my bio for an easy place to get plugged in. You can also submit your very own story or other submissions in the Reddit community r/touchepod, or you can email it to touchepod@gmail.com. That's TOUSHAIPOD on all platforms. I'll catch you later for the next time Reddit makes me say touche once again. We hung out for about an hour. Okay. We hung out for about an hour after that, and when I was... That's not right. That's not right.